Behind me on the banks of the Truckee River, just west of Reno, Nevada, is one of the most historic properties in the area. The abandoned remains of a once hoped-for casino and entertainment complex sat here vacant for 40 years until just a couple of years ago when it was purchased, and today it's being given a new lease on life. And on this episode, we're going to look at the storied history of Lawton's Hot Springs, which started back there in 1884, and several other businesses that existed here, including the last one, which was called the River Inn. And we're going to go through this old building with the owner. A lot of people locally have wondered over the years, what gives with this place? What's the backstory there? We're going to show you firsthand on a tour that the public just can't go on, but you get to see it here on the Reno You Know. This particular area by the river was frequented by Native Americans for thousands of years. And they would camp down there because they found the fishing to be particularly good because this was near a spawning ground. And they would also cross the river here and head up into the forested canyons where they found plenty of game. And then the white folks started to show up, the California-bound immigrants and the gold rushers, and they came right through this very area starting in the 1840s.
One such immigrant was Sumner, or Sam Lawton, who arrived in Nevada as an 18-year-old in 1859, before Lincoln was president and before the Civil War. Sumner Lawton was the first proprietor on this parcel, which would become known as Lawton's Hot Springs. According to newspaper articles announcing his death in 1915, Sumner Lawton was a native of Maine and was one of the first men to cross the Isthmus of Panama with a team and wagon. Also, if you remember my episode on the Pyramid Lake War of 1860, Sumner Lawton saved the last survivor of that massacre, a man wounded in the knee whom he brought to what became the early town of Glendale, a predecessor to Reno and Sparks. He owned 11 ranches in the area over the years, including a hay yard which he operated during the boom times of the Comstock lode in Virginia City.
One of these ranches was this one, his favorite, and this is where he chose to make his home. In 1884, he and his wife Nancy purchased 320 acres here from the Central Pacific Railroad of the first Transcontinental Railroad. The Central Pacific came through in 1868 and founded the town of Reno, and the rails across the country were finished in 1869. So by 1884, the railroad was probably ready to divest of some of its holdings. Lawton paid $1,040 for those 320 acres, and he was attracted by the hot springs here. The hot springs used to flow out of a granite outcropping near the river, and those granite outcroppings lent their name to the first name of the area, Granite Hot Springs.
Sam Lawton soon decided to capitalize on the popularity of his hot springs and developed a health resort. Pools were dug to capture the hot water, buildings were constructed, and landscaping installed to make the place look inviting. And whether it was true or not, Lawton promoted the new resort by claiming that the water had mineral qualities and organic salts that would render one's hair and skin soft. The railroad recognized the popularity of this spot and installed a station to make it one of their regular stops. Once automobiles became popular and the road adjacent to the property became the Lincoln Highway, it became a popular stop for weary travelers by car and a place to refill thirsty radiators.
Sam Lawton's name was actually spelled Lawton, but this place was known as Lawton's Hot Springs. Why is that? Well, the sign shop for the railroad was located back in Utah, and they were set up to make signs to promote this new stop. And they came back spelled Lawton. And I can imagine how the conversation went back in the sign shop in Utah. Lawton's Hot Springs? How the hell do you spell Lawton? Well, it sounds like to me like Lawton, L-A-W-T-O-N, and that's how they spelled it, and that's how the signs arrived. And apparently Sam Lawton was not a confrontational character, and he just rolled with it. And so going forward, this property was known as Lawton's Hot Springs.
If you hang out with me to the end of this video, we'll be going to visit the final resting place of Sumner Lawton in the Lawton family plot. Prior to his death in 1915, the property was deeded over to his daughter, who then sold it in 1925. And this marks the beginning of a succession of different owners and names for the property. In April of 1931, just after the legalization of gambling in Nevada, a couple of fellas obtained the first gaming license for Lawton's, and gaming was offered there sporadically for many years. Also in 1931, Nevada's liberal divorce laws were enacted, and soon-to-be divorcees started to flock to Lawton's to wait out their 6-week residency, no doubt lured by the relaxing mineral baths and other activities offered there, such as dining and dancing, gambling, fishing, and other outdoor activities. Also in 1931, boxer Max Baer used Lawton's as his training camp in preparation for upcoming bouts, which were being promoted by Jack Dempsey, who was living in Reno at the time. Several fights involving other fighters were also held there at the resort itself. In 1934, the facility was rebranded as Club Lawton, continuing its reputation as a destination for dining, dancing, and mineral baths. While it certainly also offered gaming, in those days it was still illegal to advertise gambling of any kind.
In 1936, the Mark Yori family purchased the property, and they would own it into the 1970s. And you might recognize the name of Yori from Yori Avenue or Yori Park here in Reno. And Yori Park is on land that used to be part of the old Yori family ranch. And that family installed an Olympic-sized swimming pool at Lawton's, the first of its size in the area. And they also included a 2-story diving tower, which you can still see in photographs and postcards from back in the day. And in later years, that pool was taken out and replaced with yet another pool, and the diving platform and the other buildings were taken down and replaced themselves. For decades, locals would come down and luxuriate by the pools, and the resort also attracted some personalities of the era, including boxer Jack Dempsey and actress Betty Grable, bandleader Harry James, and even Bill Hara from Hara's Casino and Pappy Smith from Harold's Club would come down and bring their friends.
In the late 1930s, the area west of the resort was developed into a racetrack, and for a time they would race midget cars and motorcycles. They would later host the racing of greyhounds there, and I just can't understand how those buses could make those tight turns. Yori would also introduce floor shows in the early 1940s, and it continued to be a popular spot for dining and dancing. In 1963, a fella named Bud Ruppert took over and redeveloped the property into the Holiday Lodge, which became a part of a string of holiday lodges that Ruppert owned throughout the West. He built a new 100-room motor lodge, restored the mineral baths, which had been showing their age, and installed a 9-hole golf course on the west side, presumably where the old racetrack had been located. This home movie footage shows what the Holiday Lodge looked like in 1966.
The Holiday Lodge continued the property's reputation for gaming and entertainment. And the grand opening entertainment in July of 1963 was the Sal Carson Show. Sal Carson was a band leader who could lead musicians anywhere from a trio up to orchestras of 40 musicians. And later, and for many years, Sal Carson and his orchestra would play all of the home games of the San Francisco 49ers at Candlestick Park.
Also performing with Sal Carson was a singer named Donna Theodore, whom I've never heard of. Her photo kind of caught my eye, and I poked around online for info about her. It turns out that later in life, she became one of Johnny Carson's favorite singers, and she performed over 50 times on The Tonight Show.
My next guest, Donna Theodore, is really a wonderful singer and entertainer. She's going to be starring in a play called Here's Love at the Music Hall in Houston, Texas, of course, which runs December 21st through January 1st. Then she'll be at the Palmer House in Chicago on January the 8th. Would you welcome Miss Donna Theodore?
In 1966, there were financial troubles between Rupert and the Yori family, and the Yoris regained ownership and control of the Holiday Lodge in 1966. The Yoris then sold it off in 1970. It then became a roadway inn, and in 1972, the name was changed to the River Inn. The River Inn went bankrupt and closed in 1978.
Enter a man named George Benny, who was a developer that purchased the River Inn in 1979 out of bankruptcy. And just a couple of years prior, as late as 1977, George Benny was making a modest living of $36,000 a year designing sewers. However, in just a couple of years, he was able to build himself up into the kingpin of a large real estate empire. And one of his holdings that you might have heard of is the Double Diamond Ranch development here in South Reno.
George Benny spent $6 million on revamping the River Inn, which he planned to rename George Benny's River Palace, which he envisioned would be the finest and most luxurious property in Reno. His improvements included the addition of a large A-frame casino building that we see today and the foundation of a large spa complex that was never completed. George Benny had high standards and demanded that several parts of the complex be rebuilt multiple times until they were made right in his eyes. Workers began to call the job site the Redo Inn. Benny's fairy tale financial world started to unravel as he started to be sued by suppliers to the River Inn project for unpaid invoices. Then in 1982, he faced charges of conducting a check-kiting scheme. Long story short, by 1984, he was bankrupt, and the Double Diamond Ranch, the River Inn, and other properties of his were up for sale to pay off his creditors. He was then sentenced to 30 years after being found guilty of mail fraud and racketeering and bilking $40 million out of investors to fund his real estate projects. He served 10 years and was paroled in 1993, but was back behind bars in 1998 on parole violations. He was released again in 1999, and after this, I lose track of him, and I'm pretty sure he's passed away.
In the ensuing years, there were several plans for the property that were never realized. And the buildings essentially sat here in financial limbo and vacant for 40 years. And with the exception of some families that lived in a trailer park on the property, the buildings just sat boarded up. It's starting to snow on me. The buildings just sat boarded up, and the only activity that they saw were a couple of squatters, some vandals, and on occasion the authorities would use the buildings as a location for police and fire training. In December of 2020, mid-pandemic, the property was sold to Lawrence McNutt, who owns a technology company. And he and his partner Dana have been doing lots of work here on the property, and they were gracious enough to allow us in to take a look. And Dana herself walked the property with me for almost 3 hours. And this is what we saw. And before we go in real quick, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please click the subscribe button. If I'm able to grow this channel, I'll get more and better access like you're going to see here shortly. So please help me help you. If you're watching this on your television and you can't find the subscribe button, please find your way back to this video on your phone or your computer and click the little subscribe button. And while you're there, also please click the like button. That allows this video to be seen by more people and get more traction. Thank you. Dana, thanks so much for having us out here to the former River Inn, the former Lawton Hot Springs, the former Holiday Lodge. It's a former lot of things. And when did you become involved with this property?
Well, we actually started looking at this property in 2019.
Okay.
And we purchased it and owned it in December 18th, 2020.
20, okay.
Yeah, woo.
My gosh, and it's a little windy out here today. There's a storm blowing in.
Yeah.
Your vision, your ultimate vision is a place to live, a business.
So originally we were just actually looking for property, and we came upon this and we liked it. We loved the building. The building had good bones, and we thought we would just kind of make it into a home or a home property. But as we started to find out, this property was very important to Reno.
Yeah.
And the people who have been here for a very long time remember this property. So we kept hearing we basically kept hearing that people wanted access to this property. They hadn't had access in over 40 years.
Right.
And so we started looking at this as maybe being more of a business venture than a personal venture. But it's become both. It's become personal and business.
Cool.
So
what did it look like when you first walked in? When you first opened the door, what did it look like in there?
Well, nothing was kept, of course. There was dust, piles of dust everywhere. A lot of bat droppings,
Sure.
a lot of mice, a lot of pack rats. The parking lot here that we're standing in front of, this was completely full of weeds.
Oh my gosh.
You could barely drive down to the back of the property at that point. You had to have a four-wheel drive because of the weeds and everything that was here. It took us a long time to explore and look at all the hotel rooms and look what was left. There was furniture. I've heard, well, we know that I think it's Sparks PD has used this, and the SWAT team has used this for practicing.
Training and such.
And
yeah.
training. So there were bullet shells everywhere, and there were also targets. We found targets for bad guys. So there was a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
A lot of garbage.
I bet.
Furniture, mattresses that have been left here for 40 years that were brand new in boxes, some of them.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, just a lot of things to go through.
I get it. Well, I'm just dying to see inside. Can we go in and take a look?
Be happy to show you.
Right on.
So yeah, this is the first floor, and this would have been the gaming casino part.
And we just came in through this would have been the main entrance?
The main entrance.
Okay.
And let's see, if you look, I don't know if your camera, yeah, if you look over here, you'll see that is part of the catwalk.
Okay, the catwalk, right.
Okay. For security. And then they also had security cameras on the ceiling that were all ready to go. Everything was put in, set. And right now, because we have an annual Christmas party, we got furniture from Harris when it was closing down.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what you see here is
this is all from Harris?
This is all from Harris so that we could have something in the building for people to sit on.
Well, can you still get up in the catwalks?
You can.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And it's still stable. This building was built to withstand the test of time, for sure.
Yeah.
They spared no expense building this building.
Well, I'm sure when when you were considering it, you saw that there was good bones here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had structural engineers out, and they are like, everything looks great. It's like a 97, 98% on all the foundations that are on this property.
Really? Okay, cool. And just going back to the beginning of the history of this property, the springs here were known as granite hot springs because there was apparently a granite or rock outcropping, and the water would issue forth from the rocks. Is that outcropping still here, or do you know where that was?
So I do, if the rumors are true, because that's all we have to go on is hearsay and rumors and stories from other people. But yes, it's actually right out by the railroad. And one of the things, I don't know when it was called Granite Hot Springs in the series of things. I think there's a timeline that I tried to put it into best I could on our website. But basically, the only reason why this property was ever built was because Sumner Lawton, who originally bought the property, saw that the Indians, the Native Americans, were actually swimming in the river only in this area, and he came down to investigate. This is a story, and talked to some of the Native Americans, and they told him, they showed him the hot springs.
Huh.
So later on, he wound up buying the property from the railroad and turning this into Lawton's Hot Springs because of where it came out of in the granite rocks, and it does come out, all the hot springs are throughout the whole entire property, both sides of the river.
This is an impressive stairway. This looks like Terra. I can imagine Scarlett O'Hara coming, floating down in a ball gown or whatnot. What was the? Where did these stairs go?
So I actually picture the same thing every time I look at these. A woman with a beautiful ball gown walking down the stairs, and then being taken pictures of them, fabulous. But these stairs actually go up to the 3rd floor, not the 2nd floor, but the 3rd floor.
Really?
Which is meant for the buffet and dinners and dinner parties. Let me tell you the story that I have heard about the staircase.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So the story goes that George Benny, who was building the river inn, he actually spared no expense. He really did want everything to be grand. And so he would come in, and if he didn't like something, he would tell him to take it apart and rebuild it.
Wow.
So we were told through stories that, through old timers who used to work here, that he would come in and they had to rebuild this staircase 3 times.
Oh, geez.
And we heard a similar story about the bar, the long bar in here as well. But that is the story, that they had to disassemble and reassemble the staircase 3 different times because George Benny was not happy with it, and he was looking for perfection and to have this grand entrance.
Well, it certainly is grand, and he had standards, it sounds like.
He had very high standards.
Yeah, wow.
Which I'm happy for because of his standards, this building, like I said, it's built to withstand the test of time.
It's solid.
It is solid.
Nice.
We have lots of different kinds of equipment to try to use here.
Oh, yeah.
But this would have been, we think this is either the Keno room or a private poker room. It has a bar.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Yeah, bar.
And it has a wet room too. So, but I mostly store my Christmas stuff back here right now.
Yeah, that's definitely a bar.
And then I have all of these items that I just need to go through because some of them were just left here. We also, in hopes of opening it, we've stockpiled mirrors and random pictures, and then some of this is personal.
Were these offices back here then?
These were all offices.
Okay.
We think they were security offices. And then while they were building, they used this as the plan room. We're guessing.
The plan room. Well, here are our plans, yeah? Wow.
Here are plans upon plans upon
All left here, huh?
plans,
Oh my gosh.
all about the building.
Are they dated? River
Most of them are. This one is not, but most of them are. There's a lot with stamps on them.
Oh my gosh, look at them all.
And we have yet to actually go through all of these.
Kitty.
We started to go through these and scan them in, but here's like a landscaping plan for the river and what they had planned to do
Oh, look at that.
for the river and what plants were going to go in. And let's see, this one is dated March 12th, 1982.
Oh my gosh. The year I graduated high school.
Oh my. So, and these are overlays, but we have so many plans. This is the swimming pool area.
Oh yeah.
Here's the swimming pool, and here's the existing motels. You can see it says existing motel even, because it was here before they started doing the renovations. And then here's the river. Here's the casino. And then there's a wing that comes out from the casino. And then in this area is a huge giant generator they call the Screaming Demon.
Appropriately enough.
And it's been vandalized, so we don't know if it works.
Oh, on this corner there I saw River Palace.
Yes.
Was that a proposed name?
Yes,
Yeah, wow.
it was. I believe that is what George Benny wanted to name this, was the River Palace. And you can see here that vandals would get into the walls
Oh my gosh.
to get the copper.
Oh geez, really?
So all of these things were in. The wallpaper was on, the walls were in and done, the drinking fountains were in. They were finishing up the touches, and then because it sat for 40 years and a lot of the time it sat here, nobody was watching the property very well, and so vandals would come in and they would take the copper, especially the copper out. This is one of the bathrooms here where...
Oh, there's still a scale here. That's cool.
and you know,
Oh wow.
they were putting in the sinks. They have the toilets in, but again, you can see where vandals tore through the ceilings and the walls to get at the copper pipes.
Crazy.
So there is only one way to get to the second floor. Well, two ways to get to the second floor, which is the security floor.
Uh-huh.
And that is through the service elevator or through stairs. But if you look down this hallway, this was the state of most hallways. And this is actually a pretty clean one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And they get more offices and such.
They have smaller bathrooms up here because they were just meant for the people that were working up here.
Okay, right.
And again, you can see that they were very close to just putting on the finishing touches up here and getting done.
Those are urinals for the ladies in our audience.
Yes. Older ones. And then bathrooms down there.
Okay.
And then if you go through this door right here goes to the catwalk, and these piles and light bulbs and all of this was just thrown all over the other room in there. And so we've stockpiled them and tried to put similar things together so we see what we have or throw away, and we just haven't gotten a chance to get to this because
all the lighting.
We're just really busy.
Yeah.
And then you can see that they have
Oh yeah.
which game well. I'm not sure what that is for.
This is an alarm system?
It has, it looks like an alarm system. It does, yeah. So you can see all the names that they had. And then over here was a music system.
Oh, look at that.
Of course, some of the things are gone. And we do have, so the building, the one great thing about this building is that because it already has the conduits, if we need to rewire,
Oh, wow.
it's going to be really easy to rewire.
Nice.
So we already have the conduits in place. We probably need to replace some of the piping, but not the conduits. And then this is the catwalk.
This is the catwalk. Okay.
Literally, catwalk.
Oh, it is. Look at that.
Now, you have to be careful of your height.
I can see
There
that.
is a lot of low things, and I always forget, and even I will hit my head. But so every now and then you'll see where there was a window,
Yeah?
and most of them have been broken out. And
That's where they look down on the gaming action, yeah?
yeah, it looks like the cats have been looking out there too. And then it goes all the way down. You gotta really watch your head on this one.
I can see.
And the vandals would come up here and take the copper and everything out up here as well.
Jeez.
Yeah, they
How
did.
would they see? There wasn't any lighting.
They bring
Good
their own lights.
flashlights,
Yeah, you can see there, they've torn into the walls there.
Oh my gosh.
And so we do have some windows that are completely intact,
Yeah?
just very dirty.
Just dusty?
Yeah.
Well, it's been 40 years.
Yeah, so,
I was surprised how this goes pretty much the length.
yeah, the length of the building. And then, like I said, you know, even the ceilings, people got into the ceilings and the walls in here. And this bar was actually never finished. They never put the countertop on it. So that's
Oh,
one
it's
thing.
still plywood, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still one of the things, but I believe it's about 70 feet long.
Yeah.
And it had all the cabinetry work done. There's actually refrigerators and things hidden behind the very nice cabinetry work in the back. And we actually use this bar quite a bit.
Absolutely.
It's one of our favorite places because of the view and because it is inside.
Yes.
And the story of this bar that we have heard is that this bar was built 3 times.
Oh, no, not that again.
And I heard the second time that they were told to rebuild this bar, a sledgehammer was actually taken to the second bar because because George Benny was very upset that it didn't look the way that he wanted it to look.
Oh my gosh.
So, because this bar did not look the way that George Benny wanted it to look, he took a sledgehammer to it.
George Benny did the sledgehammering.
Yes, that's the story.
Okay.
That's the story. And they had to rebuild the bar. So one of the unfortunate things about the River Inn with George Benny is that he was arrested. And the people that were working on things like the cabinetry, some of them went bankrupt because they could no longer be paid
Right.
because of the arrest. So that is one of the unfortunate things about this building being built at that time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
Crazy.
it's a beautiful bar,
Yeah.
and it's nothing that we can't finish later on.
Absolutely.
The third floor is the restaurants.
Oh, the restaurant. Okay.
Yeah,
Is there a ki-
restaurants.
Is there a kitchen and such?
Oh yeah,
Ooh, I'd love to see that.
and it's a huge kitchen. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh, you can see the Oh, look at this. You can see the architecture of the building from the inside. Look at the beams. They're huge.
I don't know if you can get beams like that anymore.
Holy cats.
So this would have been, that's the closest thing to a cage that I see, but
Okay, yeah, that looks like it.
but I believe that all of this was only used for dining. So you would have your private banquet area that you could close off. And I believe these were pay stations to pay for your buffet
Right, okay.
or your dining experience. Because I know they had more than a buffet here. They were actually doing a restaurant.
It's a sit-down restaurant affair.
Yeah, let me take you into the kitchen. It's back this way where we kind of came out of. The kitchen, now you have to remember, nothing in the kitchen has ever been used for cooking. It was all installed and then never used.
Oh my gosh. Still
But-
brand new.
But brand new in the 1980s. But because of the vandals, it's been vandalized as well.
Oh man.
But there's still a lot of really good pieces in here. But we've got, you know, you've got some of your stoves, your warming areas, refrigerators, or I'm not sure if this is a freezer, refrigerator, or
Super
what.
clean inside.
And then here's back in the back of the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
Where they did, I'm guessing, probably a lot more cooking. I'm thinking warming drawers.
Warming drawers, yeah.
They had grills, indoor grills. They had multiple, like it looks like, what is that, 5 ovens?
Oh
and
yeah, like all the ovens.
stovetops.
Oh, the stovetop, look at that, yeah. Oh, this was gonna be a serious operation.
Oh yes. And if you go down there, those
Fryers.
fryers still have the directions in them because they were never used. So you can
Yeah, oh, there they are.
see this right here.
Oh man, well you can refer back to those if you ever put it back to life.
And then if you keep going back,
They're probably walk-ins and such. Oh yeah, there you go.
so we have a pizza oven.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't know if it works because I think they might have tore some of the wires out of it.
Yeah,
I believe that's a freezer.
yeah, looks like it.
Dishwashing station if you turn around behind you.
Oh yeah, here you go. Oh wow, yeah, with the little conveyor, I think.
And then we have the bigger burners. I mean, maybe some of the people that are familiar with industrial kitchens know, but I have no idea what these are used for.
Big old burners for sure. Wow.
And then we go into soup pots, or at least I think they're soup pots.
This is crazy cool. Oh my gosh.
So this would have been all tables and chairs, all tables and chairs here, and then this would have been the buffet down here. And then these doors would go out to the patio,
Okay.
or to another deck that would be for seating. And we'll walk over there.
Cool.
And the chandelier,
Oh, look at that. That's great. Oh my.
it was a huge. I don't know how they were going to change the light bulbs because it's not on. Unless that thing is a pulley, I do not know how they were going to do that.
Good question.
But as you can see,
Okay, so this is the top of the grand staircase. that
Yes.
We saw downstairs. I got it. Okay.
and it's very windy out here,
All right, I'm ready.
but this would have been
Outdoor dining.
outdoor dining. They had planned to put tables and chairs on each side that would seat at least 2 people on both sides here of the deck. And then you could sit out here and have a beautiful view.
What a glorious view. Heck yeah.
And you have to remember, at the time they were planning this, the view would have been of all of this without homes.
Right. Oh man, just the side of the Sierra. For our viewers back east, if you keep going up over those mountains, that's Lake Tahoe way back there. So we're kind of at the foot of Lake Tahoe. All right, we're headed out to the pool area here. And I'm thinking from my research, this is, I could be wrong, tell me if I am, but this is the 3rd pool. I think the first outdoor pool was that large affair that had that diving tower.
Yes.
And then in the film footage from the 60s, there was a double pool situation. And now this one.
So I don't think they had a double pool. I think what you saw was that there was a walkway that went across.
It was just a walkway, yeah.
Yeah, it went across the top of the pool. So you could walk out, and we've heard people tell us they used to be able to walk out of their hotel room and walk across the pool. And yeah, so.
Now this is part of the motor lodge that later owners put in, as I understand.
Yes.
But back when the first outdoor pool was here and that had that diving tower, all these buildings weren't here. And,
No.
And this was all area for bathers. There was trees and grass. And speaking of trees, that tree back there is from back in the day. I'm quite sure. In the old photographs from the 50s and such, I think I can still see that tree.
Unfortunately, it's half dead.
Is it? Yeah.
And we're eventually going to have to take it down because it's rotting from the inside out.
Oh man.
And it will eventually fall.
Well, repurpose the wood into something cool here.
I think it's a cottonwood too.
Yeah, if it's along the Truckee River, it's probably a cottonwood.
But yeah, so this was the pool, and it's actually, this pool, if you look at it, it can be saved.
Yeah.
It's in very good shape.
Was it ever used? Or was this put in with the...
I have no idea.
Yeah.
This one I don't know.
I'm going to guess it wasn't. It was just put in with the new building, and you know they never opened, so no one swam.
It's a very good possibility.
I'm guessing.
When we got to this property, we didn't even know there was a pool. You couldn't see it. So we've been trying to get rid of all the weeds and everything around.
It was all overgrown, so you couldn't see it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
the weeds were probably as tall or taller than I am.
Jeez Louise.
And so we've been back here trying to get rid of some of the willows, and you know, willows, they always come back.
Yeah.
So we're still working on it, but we've got a lot of it cleared out. Pretty happy with the progress.
And that old diving tower would be probably right about pretty close to where we're standing, judging by where that tree is positioned in the old photographs that I've located.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did have here before the 70s was they would have they had a woman Olympic diver come and dive, exhibition dive.
Diving exhibitions?
Yes, at this pool.
Well, it's a 12-foot deep, plenty of room for diving. Oh, I see the little kiddie pool over here.
Yeah. They didn't ever gunite this, so it's actually, or they did gunite it, they didn't finish it off. I'm not a pool expert, so.
Me neither.
But it's crumbling more because I don't think they actually finished it off.
Look at that. Yeah, it had a little fountain in it, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah. Now, were all of these motel rooms empty pretty much when you got the property, or were there still beds?
Oh, some of them are still full of stuff. There was a lot more stuff, but they were jam-packed. Every single one of them had tons of stuff, mattresses.
The stuff stored.
Bedding, stuff that they were putting mirrors up, furniture. I'll take you up there. We have still some of the original furniture in boxes.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
It's kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But we cleaned up, we got rid of all the mattresses, which there's about 84 hotel rooms, so 84 plus mattresses.
What would be the plan ultimately for all these rooms?
So this building is actually historically here, which helps us a lot because we can restore it easier.
Okay.
And so
it's kind of grandfathered into some regulations.
Thank you. Yes, it's grandfathered in. Otherwise, you would never be able to build this close to the river.
That is true. We are right on the river.
And we are working towards restoring the historically saved part of this, which is this hotel.
Perfect.
I've cleaned some of the rooms. I did get to clean out. Like this one, I cleaned out. But you can see
it's a tad larger up here.
Yeah, and there's one of the dressers.
Okay.
And in the box is a side table.
Never used.
And these were Kleenex box holders for inside of a wall.
Yep.
So we still have all of these things up here.
Look at this crazy cool view they would have had. No houses and the mountains up there.
So back in the day, before we had Wi-Fi and all these fancy satellite systems, they had a ginormous satellite dish. And that is what that was.
And that's the remains of it.
And that is how they got television to the campsites and to the rooms.
That was the campground back then, huh?
That's
back
there is the campground.
Okay. Did these sites have Oh, they did have power and water.
They did.
I have an RV, so I'm familiar with campsites.
Yeah, they had power and water, and at one point there was a sewage station.
Oh, okay.
This property was self-contained, so it had its own sewage plant
Really?
at one point. And you can see this has all been paved.
Yeah.
We didn't know this. We started to clear off and look at some things here, and we realized that we were ripping up pavement.
Oops.
Oops. And so we took the other sites a little more cautiously and carefully, and so every time we saw one of those, we knew that this was paved.
There you go. And out here would have been the golf
This
course?
at one point was the golf course. And at one point the racetracks.
Okay, the racetracks too, right.
And this was going to be turned into tennis courts out in this area right here.
You found
see
the plans for
yeah,
that?
you can see there's no campsites right here.
Yeah.
They were going to make this tennis courts.
Well, there's definitely enough acreage here for a racetrack and a golf course.
And it goes further beyond that.
It does, really.
There's also the swimming pool for the campground. And this
There's a swimming pool over here.
Yeah,
Just for the campground. Oh my gosh.
just for the campground.
I did a video 12, 13 years ago called The Ghost Pools of Reno, and I looked
Ooh.
at all these old pools that have been filled in motels in downtown.
Oh my gosh.
And and a lot of those have been taken away as well.
So
oh my gosh, look at that.
I think that there was a story that my neighbor would tell me, because he used to come here back in the day when it was open, and he kept telling me that there was an employee pool underneath the hotel.
Under the hotel.
Under the hotel. And we looked, and granted, there's a lot of things that we may not still have discovered, but we finally went underneath the hotel, and the hotel, there's a staircase that goes underneath it to do pool maintenance, and they had all the pumps and the pool pumps for the giant Olympic-sized swimming pool over there.
Oh my gosh.
And we looked over to the wall, and at the very top, we saw blue pool tile.
Really?
So we think that they actually filled that pool in with concrete and then built the hotel over top of it.
That's amazing.
To go along with your stories of that being done in the other Reno area.
That's cool. Oh my, look at this. A ghost pool on the property.
And again, this area, we did not even know there was a pool here.
Because it was all overgrown?
It was so overgrown, you couldn't even see the concrete. So as you can see, there's bushes and things that are growing in between the cracks. Well, this whole entire thing was just covered with bushes and branches and dirt. And so we just get the little tractors out, and we cautiously started uncovering it. There was a big tree over there that we took out that had fallen.
Yeah.
And it was this was a huge, huge mess and undertaking. And there's still several, there's still a lot of cleanup to be done, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But this would have been the store. This would have been a general store and bathrooms and showers for the pool. So we've had to clean up a lot. The thing is that nobody could really see it because of all the overgrown brush.
Right.
So nobody really knew how bad this property had been treated and degraded, and how much garbage was left.
Yes.
From the construction back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh man.
I'm not positive what this was for.
The foundation here, yeah.
I think it was a holding tank for, it could have been anything. It could have even been a holding tank for sewage.
Yeah, it could have been.
Or it could have been a center pumping station to pump the sewage here and to pump it up to the leach field.
Yeah, and that's the old River Inn sign. You can barely read it now, but I can make out River Inn. Casino and Spa?
Mineral spa.
Mineral spa. Ah, there you go. Cool.
We plan to repaint that.
Yeah, and restore it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about restoring, but it'll look the same,
Yeah.
hopefully, or how it looked.
How it looked back in...
With
yeah.
the red and the blue.
Oh, cool. Dana thinks that this might be the granite rock outcropping that the granite springs were named for, and the water would just come out between the rocks here, right next to the railroad tracks today. All right, this is the Lawton family plot here at Mountain View Cemetery here in Reno. And over here is Sumner or Sam Lawton, born 1835, and he rests next to his wife Nancy, and several descendants are buried here as well. Can you imagine what this fellow would have seen being a teenager and getting on a ship somewhere on the East Coast and sailing all the way down to Panama and crossing the isthmus on a horse and wagon, and then sailing again all the way up to probably, assuredly, San Francisco, and finding his way to Nevada way before Reno was even a town. This is one of our earliest pioneers. All right, thank you for hanging out to the end of this video. I sure appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. I learned all kinds of things about Lawton Hot Springs that I didn't know, and the River Inn, and how that all came together. So it was a joy to do, and I'm hoping that you got as much enjoyment as I did. Today we're ending up this episode at the Lake Tahoe Ale Worx in Reno. Lake Tahoe Ale Worx has been around for a couple years up at Lake Tahoe, but this is their first installment down here in Reno. So we're really excited to see it here. They took over the location of the old Record Street Brewing and kind of rehabbed it and made it their own. So really glad to see a new business here in the brewery district near downtown Reno. And today I'm enjoying their Doppelbock. It's a German style of beer, Doppelbock. Doppel kind of means double in German, so it's double the Bock. You get a little more flavor, a little more sweetness, and a little more ABV out of this, and it tastes great on a early spring day such as today. And I want to give a big thank you again to Lawrence and Dana for sharing their project with us. Couldn't have done it without them. I'll leave their website here below me, so you can go to their website and follow their progress. They also have a presence on the socials, so they'll be on Facebook and Instagram too, so you can follow them there. And I wish them all the luck in the world to make that glorious and wonderful once again. That is all I have for you today. I'm off to make my next episode. Got to stay busy. And as Harold S. Smith Sr. of Harold's Club always said, I'm with you. Cheers.